follow since I'm not going to pass out money. So when Paul asked me to speak to you guys about my entrepreneur journey, I thought this session will be titled Jack of All Trades, or maybe how to go from Valley Girl to Silicon Valley Girl, but I think they came up with a better title. So I started my first business when I was 22. Some of you guys remember it well. It's a nightclub called The Muse in Old Town, Pasadena, and I know what you're all thinking. How does a short Asian girl who just graduated college become a nightclub owner? So when I was at UCLA, I was happened to be the president of the Chinese Student Association, and we did a lot of dances at nightclubs as fundraisers. So I thought, if we're making so much money as students, the nightclubs must be making a killing. And I got to know the economics of a nightclub quite well, because whenever we would go clubbing, I would literally be walking around the club, counting tables and people, and estimating how much the clubs were making. So I started to do some research, talk to people, tell people about it, even scouted some locations. And as luck would have it, one of my coworkers at the time introduced me to the owners of the Muse, and they were looking for new blood to run the club. So I ended up raising some money from my friends and family and became the nightclub owner. So the Muse actually was a wild success. I ended up owning it for 8 years. It's still one of my best ventures that I've ever done. And at the same time, I started other ventures according to my own interests and life stage at the time. In my late 20s, I started a spa in New York and later pivoted it into my first online business selling skincare. And after I had my daughter, from that experience, I decided to open actually the largest postpartum maternity center in Taiwan, which is a 60-room hotel that provided 24/7 childcare and maternal care to moms who just gave birth. After that, I decided to take a break and go back to work, learn some new hard skills, and I went into real estate private equity, as well as investment banking. And that didn't last too long. So one of my investment banking clients actually ended up hiring me to start an internet company for him in Asia. It was a company called Jigocity. We're a flash sale e-commerce platform with operations in 6 countries in Asia. I started off as a country manager for Taiwan and grew that to about a 50-people operation. And then was quickly promoted to become the CEO of the company because Taiwan, as small as a country it is, accounted for more than 50% of the entire company's revenue. And after a year, we were lucky enough to be acquired by a Nasdaq-traded company for $65 million. I continued to run the company as the CEO for 2 years after that, but then later decided to move back to my hometown, which is LA. When I came back, I took a position as the COO of a customized jewelry company called Coordinates Collection. I learned a lot about the jewelry business, loved the business, did not love my boss. So I decided to leave and started Capsule Jewelry about 6 months ago. I was able to raise $500,000 in venture capital money and launched a website, our wholesale business last month, and that's where we're at today. So what is the moral of the story? First of all, what do you guys think of, or who do you think of, who do you picture when you picture an entrepreneur? Is it a 25-year-old white male in a hoodie? Or some extremely genius coding techie guy? What about a female immigrant? What about that 18-year-old teenager? Or a single mom in the 40s? How about a man in the 60s, like Colonel Sanders when he started KFC? So literally anyone can be trained to be an entrepreneur, and we have to step outside of the box of what an entrepreneur should look like. It's no secret that there's been a huge gender bias in the startup world. In fact, only 17% of venture-backed companies are led by female founders. And only 3% of total venture capital money goes to female. There's also a huge age discrimination in the startup industry. It used to be that you were too young to start businesses, and now it's you're too old to start businesses. So I think we should all, we all lose when we stop seeing women, minorities, people of all ages as being capable of becoming capable entrepreneurs. Age, gender, race does not impact your capability to become great entrepreneurs. It is the access to resources that does. And the only thing we can do by reversing this cultural bias, because culturally women and minorities are often steered away from taking risk. They're often encouraged to do something safe, something stable. So I think, there's just fewer women and minority founders to begin with. And, we can all do something by really starting the ecosystem of diversity in startup, by encouraging more women, more minorities to first become entrepreneurs and see them as such, and thereby, become successful role models and mentor and inspiring more other female and minorities. And the second takeaway from my experience is that you don't need experience to become an entrepreneur. In fact, you don't even need experience to become the president of the United States. So I think the most positive takeaway from the current presidency is that literally if somebody with zero political experience can become president, anything is possible. And the lack of experience is no longer an excuse for any of you. In fact, I hope the current presidency inspires you to take actions like Paul did, like Nicholas did in putting together Humana Summit. It was certainly a wake-up call for myself that I needed to do more to help other female entrepreneurs, to help other immigrants. And that's why I volunteered to become the LA director for SheWorx, which is SheWorx is a community of ambitious female entrepreneurs that support each other as well as provide resources such as access to top mentors, other successful entrepreneurs, and access to VCs to really close the funding gap. So now that we've talked a little bit about the cultural bias for entrepreneurship, I'd like to talk about the life cycle of being an entrepreneur. First is the idea stage. How many of you have an idea right now for your business? Show of hands. Great, that is the first step. So there are many ways to approach, the idea for your business. You can do what I did, which is, whatever I was interested in and spending a lot of money and energy on in my own life stage. Think about what problems you are trying to solve. What are the pain points? What are some of the products and services you wish you had that simply doesn't exist? Or what can you do better than the other people? What can you provide that is better than what's currently available? Second stage, you have to do a feasibility because I know everyone thinks they have the greatest idea in the world, but do other people think so? Talk to other people, educate yourself, talk to your suppliers, talk to your potential customers, talk to your manufacturers, talk to other competitors, give feedback and pivot if you need to. And then it's the grassroots bootstrapping stage, and that's building MVP as cheaply as possible to test the market and test the demand for your product. So at that time, you're really the president and the janitor. You're the CEO, COO, CMO, CTO, business development, shipping, customer service. And a lot of people sometimes have this glamorized view of being an entrepreneur. I'm just going to hire lots of people, get everyone to do my job. And I learned the hard way that as a founder, nobody cares more about your own business or know more about your own business than you. And it would really behoove yourself. And as a founder, you really should be intimately familiar with every single aspect of your own business before outsourcing. Then comes the fundraising. So fundraising sounds daunting, and it is. I'm not gonna lie. But there has never been, a better time to be an entrepreneur simply because startup is still one of the few industries that you can be wildly successful without any money, simply just by using other people's money. There's tons of angels, family offices, VCs, money out there, and they're looking for good ideas and good people. And after fundraising, of course, then you have to build a team. That is probably one of the hardest aspects of the business. The past few years, I've hired and fired hundreds of people. It's, again, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. You have to learn from your mistakes. But it is one of the most important aspects because people is the people and the culture that makes the company. So after that, scalability, finding what is your winning formula, and how do you repeat that? What works, what doesn't work, what are your KPIs, what are your key metrics to success? You really have to understand that as an entrepreneur. And you also have to consider your exit options. It will not always work out to be how you want it to be, but it is something you should think about when you start your company, how you want to exit, because that's going to impact what type of investors you look for and how you structure your cap table. So I don't romanticize the notion of entrepreneurship. It is hard and it's probably the hardest thing you'll ever do. There's going to be lots of ups and downs, and there are going to be many times that you don't think you're going to make it. That is called normal. Everyone goes through that as an entrepreneur. It's not about making mistakes. Is first of all recognizing that you make a mistake, which a lot of founders have trouble to do. How to learn from the mistake and correct your mistake. And surround yourself with other people with the same aspiration, the same goals, same mentality as you. Surround yourself with top mentors. Just because I said you don't need experience to be an entrepreneur doesn't mean you don't need the knowledge or what we call the domain expertise. You have to constantly be learning, constantly be problem solving, constantly just reiterate, do something, it's, like one of the speakers said, fail fast and learn fast. And lastly, is to take action. If you just have an idea and you never get to the execution part, you're just an entrepreneur. So don't be the entrepreneur. The difference between an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur is simply by taking action. Dream. Don't just dream. Dream big and dream bigger. In fact, I learned from Silicon Valley that you can really be penalized for dreaming too small or dreaming too realistic. Don't just think outside of the box, break the box. Change your DNA to start thinking like an entrepreneur, acting like an entrepreneur, talking like an entrepreneur, and be that entrepreneur.